You're welcome to another interesting class on economics. My name is Vanessa Hart. The topic for today's lesson is Population Part 1, and the theme for this lesson is Population, Labor Market and Human Capital Development. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to explain the meaning of population in economics and describe population size and its implication. The world we live in today is made up of people of different cultures, religions and backgrounds. The world population of today is about 7.7 billion people, and in Nigeria there are about 195 million people. It is important for the government to know the number of people that exist in a place in order for them to plan and provide the basic amenities that are needed for these people to live in comfort. Now let's look at what population is. Population can be defined as the total number of people living in a particular place at a given period of time. It can also be seen as the total number of objects, persons or animals in a particular place. A typical example of population is the number of males in a particular class. We have different sizes of population. Now let's look at population size and the factors that affect population size. Population size refers to the actual number of persons in a population. There are 4 factors which affect a population size. They include birth rate, death rate, migration, and natural growth rate. Let's look at these factors in detail. Birth rate. This is the total number of live births per 1,000 recorded within a year in a country. High birth rates increases population, whereas low birth rates decreases population. We can see from this image that within this period we had about 228,100 births, and within this other period we had about 215,200 births. There was a decrease from 2015 to 2016 by 12,900 births. With this, you can see that there was a decrease of 12,900 births within these 2 periods. Death rate. This is the total number of deaths per 1,000 recorded within a year in a particular country. High death rates reduces a population, whereas low death rates increases a population. Migration rate. This is the movement of people from one country to another. The movement of people into a country from another country is called immigration, whereas the movement of people out of that country is called emigration. Immigration increases the population of the country where those people move to, whereas emigration decreases the population where those people move out from. Now let's look at net migration. Net migration is the difference between the people moving into a country and the people moving out of that same country. Now let's look at the formula for net migration. The formula for net migration is seen here as I minus E over P times 1,000, where N represents net migration rate, the I represents immigration rate, the E represents the emigration rate, and P represents the total population. This picture here shows an example on how to calculate net migration rate. Now let's look at natural growth rate. This is the difference between the number of births and the number of deaths in a given population. The formula for natural growth rate can be seen below as natural growth rate is equals to birth rate minus death rate. When the birth rate is higher, you have a positive value from this equation, whereas when the death rate is higher, you have a negative value from this equation. Now that we have looked at population sizes, let's look at the implications of population sizes. The size of a population largely determines the social, economic, and political strength of that country. Economically, it is expected that a country that has a large population should be able to have increased economic activities, increased labor force, and increased tax revenues. Also, politically, such countries are expected to be able to have a large voting strength. They should also be able to win wars in times of wars against smaller countries. Socially, countries with large population are expected to have many skilled personnel and professionals who should be able to bring about high level of development and innovations. These large populations are expected to be ahead of other countries, that is, other smaller countries. Now let's look in detail into the implications of population sizes. The implications of population sizes can be referred to the positive and negative effects of a rising population, a declining population, a young population, and an aging population. We shall look in detail into these implications. Rising population. This is a constant rise or increase in a country's population. This may be as a result of high birth rates, low death rates, and immigration. An example of a rising population can be seen in Nigeria's population. Nigeria's population has increased from approximately 181 million people in 2015 to 195 million people in 2018. The implications of this rise in population has resulted in an increased labor force, increased economic activities, increased innovations, investors, and tax revenues. However, some negative implications of this rise in population include high unemployment rates and overpopulation. Now, let's look at a declining population. A declining population is a constant decrease or fall in a country's population. This could be as a result of low birth rates, high death rates, and emigration. The positive implications of a declining population include high employment opportunities and wages. However, there are some negative implications of a declining population. These include decreased labor force, decreased economic activities, decreased innovations, decreased investors, and decreased tax revenues. Now, let's look at a young population. A young population is a population which is largely dominated by young people. These young people are usually below school leaving age, and they are usually between the age bracket of 0 to 15. The positive implications of an increasing young population are increased intellectual activities and large and cheap future labor. However, a negative implication of this young population is that they do not contribute to the production of goods and services because they are too young. Now, let us look at an aging population. An aging population. This is a population that is largely dominated by elderly people. This may be as a result of low birth rates and low death rates. This means that there are little or no newborns, and then elderly people live to their old age. The positive implication of this aging population are an increased pool of volunteers in the economy, more experienced labor force, and increased demand for health products used by aged people. However, one negative implication is the high cost of providing pensions and healthcare services, which will lead to increased taxes. By this, I mean that the government will increase taxes in order to be able to provide for the needs of these aged people. We have come to the end of this class. Now let's take a quick summary on what we have learned so far. We learned that population is the whole number of people living in a particular place at a given period of time. We also learned that there are 4 major determinants of a population size, and these 4 major determinants include birth rates, death rates, migration, and natural growth rates. We learned that a rising population is a constant increase in population as a result of high birth rates, low death rates, and immigration. We also learned that a declining population is a constant decrease in population as a result of high death rates, low birth rates, and emigration. Also, we learned that a young population is one that has a large number of people below age 15. We also learned that an aging population is one that has a large number of elderly people. And lastly, we learned that a rising, declining, young and aging population can have both negative and positive effects on a country and her economy. Now let's take some test questions to test our knowledge on what we have learned so far. Question 1. Dash is the total number of people living in a particular place at a given period of time. A. Immigration. B. Population. C. Migration. The correct answer is B. Population. Let's take the second question. Question 2. Which of these is not a determinant of population? A. Birth rate. B. Preventive rate. Or C. Death rate. The correct answer is B. Preventive rate. We have now come to the end of this class. I believe you can now explain what population is and population sizes. See you in my next class. Bye for now.